How are you? Tuesday, February the 4th, 2025. This video, a recap of Jimmie Foxx' stellar career. 1925, 1945. Let's look at it. 2,317 games. Kind of wish it was more. Wish he had about 2,800 games, maybe 3,000 games. He could have had much higher career stats. 2,300. He only played until he was 37. He did start early. He started at age 17. How about that? And played till 37. He had played another 3 years, 4 years. He would have had over 600 homers, over 2,000 RBIs, probably a 330 career batting average. It's too bad he stopped playing at age 37. Toward the end of his career, he had alcohol problems. It's too bad. I guess during that time, after the ball game, what do? You go to the bar and you drink. What else are you going to do? You're on the road, you go to bars, swinging up. A lot of players did that. Mickey Mantle, another case, too much alcohol. 2,317 games. He got a lot of good stats in that time. He had 8,134 at-bats. 1,751 runs scored. What's significant about Jimmie Foxx's run scored ability? Listen to this. He had one season, 151 runs scored. This guy's a power hitter. He's not fast either. He scored 151 runs. That means he was on base. His on-base percentage was really, really good. He had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 seasons out of the 20, 100 or more runs scored. He also had another season where he scored 139, and then another one where 130. Here's prolific runs scored. 1,751. Again, if he had played more games, it's possible he could have scored 2,000 runs at the pace he was on. 2,646 hits in 20 years. Remember, it's only 2,317 games. So it's about 1.15 hits per game played, close to 1.2 hits per game played. Not as high as some of the other Hall of Famers who were like 1.35, 1.38, and 1.41. Some of those guys had higher ratio of hits per game. Fox was between 1.6 and about 1.2 to about 1.5 hits per game played. He had two 200-hit seasons. He had two more, 198 plus. No, 198, and then he had 197. So two more there. Then he had four others, 180 hits. This guy, if you give him a full season, he's 180 hits guaranteed. Just about. I like this stat too. I didn't realize it. Let me count it. 500 at-bats in a season. That's my measure. Because then we know what you can do with 500 at-bats. What can you produce in runs, hits, RBIs, batting average, total bases? Did you know this stat about Jimmie Foxx? I didn't know it. Let me count it. 500 at-bats, how many times? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 times out of 20 seasons, 500 at-bats in a season. That's really good. That's impressive. 458 doubles. Didn't quite get to the 500 double mark. His high in doubles, he had a 37 one year. So he didn't get into the 40s or in the 50s of doubles. Some of the other players are prolific at doubles. Tris Speaker, example. You know, Tris Speaker had 4 seasons of 50 or more doubles. Ooh. Triples, 125, not much to speak about. But home runs, 534. At the time he got his 500th home run, he was the youngest player in Major League history to do that. 500, when he hit his 500th home run, even quicker than Babe Ruth as far as how many games. But Babe Ruth pitched 5 years in his first part of his career. That's why it took Babe longer to get to the 500. How about this for Jimmie Foxx? He had 12 seasons in a row, 30 or more home runs. That's very impressive. How about if you were a manager on a club and you said, Jimmie Foxx, you're in the lineup, and Jimmie Foxx goes, for the next 12 years, I will hit 30 or more home runs. The manager would go, thank you very much. He had 2 seasons of 50 or more home runs. He had a 58 home run campaign in 1932. And in 1938, he hit 50 that year. He's one of a few players in Major League history to have multiple 50 home run seasons. I think there's about, I'd say 8 to 10 players. I don't know the exact number. Babe Ruth holds the record for 50 home run plus seasons. 1,922 career RBIs. He stopped playing at 37. If he had played till 40, he's guaranteed over 2,000 RBIs. He had 13 seasons in a row, 100 or more RBIs. That tied Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig. They had 13 also. Albert Pujols has the most, 14 100 RBI seasons. So how about Jimmie Foxx? Also, how about his numbers? 1 year, he had 175 RBIs. That is number 4 all time as far as total in a season. Hack Wilson, 191. Lou Gehrig, 185. Hank Greenberg had 184. And then the next guy on the list, number 4, Jimmie Foxx, 175 RBIs. He also had 2 seasons over 160. 169 RBIs and then 163 1 year. Then he had another season where he had 156. So how about Jimmie Foxx? 1, 2, 3, 4 seasons over 150 RBIs. He's up there in really good company. Who holds the record for most seasons of 150 or more RBIs? Fox has 4. You know who holds the record? Lou Gehrig. I didn't know that about Sweet Lou. Lou Gehrig, I'll go to him quickly. He had, listen to this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 seasons, 150 or more RBIs. A record. Woo! Lou Gehrig. Jimmie Foxx, 4 of them. All right, what else can we say? Let's see, stolen bases, 87. Not a fast guy. Walks, 1,452. That's up there. You get 1,000 walks in your career, you're feared. Did you know Babe Ruth and Ted Williams both had over 2,000 walks in their career? So Jimmie Foxx, 1,452. He had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 seasons, 100 plus walks. Strikeouts. It's a little flaw. Sorry, Jimmy. 1,311. Too many. You know, pure hitters are below 500 career strikeouts. Tony Gwynn had 400 some. Joe Sewell. Joe Sewell had 100 and something strikeouts in his career. He was one of the best as far as fewest strikeouts per at bats. Joe Sewell. Look him up. Look up his baseball reference. Ty Cobb, I think it was less than 600 strikeouts. Hornsby was in there. Some of the other really good hitters didn't strike out as much. Al Simmons was one. But Jimmie Foxx is a power guy. So that's the one little flaw. 1,311 strikeouts. Him and Babe Ruth struck out way too much. How about this? I like this stat, though, for Jimmie Foxx. 325 career batting average. Why is this significant? I've pointed it out before in other videos. I'll point it out again. Jimmie Foxx is one of 3 players in Major League history with an average of 325 or more and 500 or more home runs. That combo. High batting average, high home run output. There's only 2 other guys that have a batting average over 325 and 500 plus home runs. You know who they are, right? Ted Williams, 344 career batting average, 521 homers. So combo of 500 homers, 344 average. And the other guy is Babe Ruth, 342 career batting average, 714 home runs. So Fox joins that list. Just 3 players in Major League history, 15,000. Look at the guys who have hit 500 or more home runs. There's a list. Only 3 have a batting average over 325. Fox, 534 homers, 325 career batting average. Also, Fox had 11 seasons legitimately batting over 300. He had other seasons where he was over 300, but not enough games to qualify. But he had 2 seasons over 360. He had a 364 and a 360 with 500 at-bats in the season. And he also had a 356. He had a 349. I like that combination with Jimmie Foxx of batting average and slugging. On base, 428. Not quite Ted Williams and Babe Ruth territory. They were closer to 500 career on base. Ted Williams had a 500 on base season. I think he ended up 482 on base career, almost half the time for Ted Williams that he was on base, that he played in his whole career. Babe Ruth was close too, to having close to almost half the time being on base with his career hits and walks. Slugging, I like this for Jimmie Foxx. He was a true, bona fide, genuine slugger. He had three seasons slugging over 700. 500 is the magical number for slugging. Jimmie Foxx, 3 of them over 700. His high was 749 one year. Of course, the record is Babe Ruth. He's in the 800 category. He had a slugging one year of 847. Then he comes back the next year and slugged 846. Now, Barry Bonds holds the record for a season, 863 slugging. Question on Barry Bonds, why? He's not in the Baseball Hall of Fame, and there is a reason. Performance enhancing supplements. So we can question Barry Bonds there, but as far as Babe Ruth and Jimmie Foxx, these are true sluggers. Also, Jimmie Foxx had one, two, three, four, five other seasons over 600 slugging, and his career slugging percentage 609. Who holds the record? Career slugging. Babe Ruth 690. Jimmie Foxx up there 609. And total bases for Jimmie Foxx 4,956. Just shy of 5,000 total bases. What I like about Jimmie, he had 2 seasons, 400 or more total bases in a season. 300 is the magic number for total bases. Jimmie Foxx had 2 of them, 400. He had a 438 and a 403. And another season, he had a 398, almost his third. You know who has the most 400 total base seasons? I looked it up. Lou Gehrig had 5 of them. 5 seasons, 400 total bases. So he holds the record. Jimmie Foxx, 2. Also, Jimmie Foxx had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 other seasons, 300 or more total bases. So Foxx, his career is stellar. It really is. If you look at the numbers, he had a 6-hit game. You know, Babe Ruth never had a 6-hit game. Neither did Lou Gehrig. And you know else? Some of the other guys who are way up there, like Aaron and Mays, never had 6-hit games. Jimmie Foxx did it. He also had a Triple Crown. Look at this year. This was a Triple Crown year. 1933. 48 home runs. He leads the league in homers. 163 RBIs. He leads the league. And he bats .356, leading the league. That is the Triple Crown. Home runs, RBIs, and batting average. Triple Crown for Jimmie. Also, on when Jimmie Foxx had a 6-hit game, it was 1932. This was his line for that game. July 10th, 1932. He had 9 at-bats, 4 runs scored, 6 hits, and 8 RBIs. That's a total number of 27 for the game. If you have a line that totals 25 or more, you are in stratosphere category surroundings. 25 or more for your line. What do I mean? Let's say you went 4 for 4 and had 4 runs scored and 4 RBIs. That's a good game, right? 4, 4, 4, 4 is your line, your box score. That's only 16. Let's say you had 5 for 5, 5 at-bats, 5 runs scored, 5 hits, 5 RBIs. That would be 25, right? Pretty good line, right? But if you go over that, you're entering another category. Fox had 9 at-bats, so it was an extra inning game. He had 4 runs scored, 6 hits, but then he got the 8 RBIs. Add that up. That is 27 box score across. And there are very few players in baseball history who have a line of 25 or more in box scores. I think there's about only 5 or 6. I think the day that Jim Botany got 12 RBIs, he had 6 hits. He had a score of about, I think it was 28. I'm not sure. I'd have to look that box score up. But he had 12 RBIs in a game and six hits. I believe he had 6 at-bats. I'm not sure how many runs he had that game, but it was over 25. That's an example of someone having a box score 25 or more. Jim Botany, 12 RBIs in a game. Remember that. I have to look that one up exactly. Jimmie Foxx was also MVP 3 times. Not too many guys can make that claim in baseball history. Way back in the 1900s, they didn't have the MVP. I think they got that going in the late 1920s or 1930s, the MVP award. I think they called it the Chambers Award before that. Fox has 3 of them. Can we make the claim that Jimmie Foxx is one of the 10 greatest players in baseball history? Who would be ahead of him, in your opinion, as far as looking at the career stats? The only flaw on Jimmie Foxx is toward the end of his career, he tapered off. And not as great toward the end of his career, where other players, when they finish out their career, ended in a really good style. One example is Ty Cobb. He had 23 consecutive seasons batting over 300. And in one of his last seasons, he batted like 327. And it was 100 games, even if when he was 42 years old. He's an example of finishing your career strong. Babe Ruth, toward the end of his career, kind of faltered off. His last year didn't play much. But in the middle, isn't it interesting with Babe Ruth's career? His first 5 years, he's pitching, so you don't have much stats as far as batting and home runs and RBIs. But then when he got going, in about a 12 or 13-year period, he accumulated all his stats. He played 22 years. I'd say in about a 14-year period, that's where Babe Ruth got most of his stats. Got all his hits, his doubles, his homers, and his RBIs, and all that batting average. Batted .393 one season. But then toward the end of his career, he faltered off and went lower. It's not too often you can get a guy that has 20 consecutive stellar seasons. The only example I can think of would be Ty Cobb. Never really fell off. He had some seasons where he didn't get to 100 games, but he did play 3,034 games. I know all these stats because I've been covering them for years and years and years. I remember the stats. Would you agree? Where would you evaluate and rank Jimmie Foxx as far as his career? Who would you put ahead of him? I'd put Babe Ruth ahead of him. Yeah. I'd put Ty Cobb ahead of him. I put Lou Gehrig ahead of him. Would you put Ted Williams? Yeah, he had a higher batting average. Ted Williams missed about 3 or 4 years in the military. What stats he would have had? Would you put Ted Williams a better hitter than Jimmie Foxx? Because they had similar power and batting average. Ted didn't get as high RBIs as Jimmie Foxx. Foxx outbeat him in RBIs, and he beat him in home runs. But Williams beat him in batting average. Also, he got walked way too much. Also, Williams didn't strike out as much as Jimmie Foxx. I don't know about that one. Would you put Hornsby ahead of Jimmie Foxx? He's got the .358 career batting average. Not as many home runs. He had 300 homers. But he did have 3 400 batting seasons. I don't know about Hornsby. Would you put Aaron and Mays ahead of Jimmie Foxx? Foxx didn't quite get as much home runs as Aaron and Mays, also in the RBIs. But Foxx stopped playing at 37, where Aaron and Mays played into their 40s. Foxx has the better batting average. Got to admit it, .325 career. Aaron, .305. Mays, .302 career. Would you say those guys are better than Foxx? That's a debate. Who else in the top 10? Stan Musial? Would you say he's better than Fox? He had a higher batting average, 331. Had more hits. I mean, 3,000. How many hits did Stan Musial end up with? Trying to think. Where was he? 3,600 hits, right? Yeah, right in that area. Fox had 2,600. Is Musial ahead of Fox as far as greatness? Oh, you got Honus Wagner. You got some of these other guys in the top. Lou Gehrig. I mentioned him, right? I don't know. To me, you got to put Jimmie Foxx in the top 15 guaranteed and maybe close to top 10 all time. Greatest baseball players in baseball history. Would you agree or disagree there? You'd have to debate it. If you dig deep into the stats and the numbers, how do you evaluate it and how do you rank it? I don't know. Anyways, it was fun looking over Jimmie Foxx's career. I didn't realize how good of a player he was. I read about him in baseball books. He was pretty good. In fact, he was really, really good. Power hitter. All right, we're done with him. I want to keep looking at baseball players, dive into their stats and their box scores, and then evaluate and rank them. Again, what I like to do is when I finish someone, what I do is I mention all the guys that I've done so far. So who have I done so far on my YouTube channel as far as really digging into their stats and box scores? Who have I done? All right, they're all on my channel. Here's who I've done. And then I'll reveal who I'm going to do next. I've done Ty Cobb, Rogers Hornsby, Joe Jackson, Lefty O'Doul, Ed Delonte, Tris Speaker, Billy Hamilton, Ted Williams, Dan Brothers, Babe Ruth, Dave Orr, Harry Heilman, Pete Browning, Willie Keeler, Bill Terry, Lou Gehrig, George Sisler, Jesse Burkett, Tony Gwynn, Nat Lajoie, Al Simmons, Camp Hansen, Sam Thompson, Stan Musial, and Joe DiMaggio. I've done all those guys. And Jimmie Foxx. Who's next? Honus Wagner. Why not? He's talked a lot about in baseball history books. In fact, when I was a kid, I remember they had a children's book. And the name of the book was Baseball's Greatest Players. And I opened the book. And one of the first ones named was Honus Wagner. I said, wow, Honus, that's a real strange name. I remember reading that as a kid. I've looked at his career in baseball books, but I don't think I've really looked at his box scores and his season-by-season totals. Let's do Honus Wagner, and let's see where we can evaluate him and rank him among the greatest players or among the greatest hitters of all time, okay? So Honus Wagner, next on my list. Talk to you later, sincerely and respectfully. I'm out.